Halfway there. The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business she runs. Days it. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover, after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movement. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. It feels like I'm being stared down by a primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though, before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed, a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there.
But we don't have any other choice, Becca! There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just...
Isabella, no.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad mood from this morning will simply blow over after all of us has gotten a decent rest. I should have expected things won't be the same with them as it is with Zach and I. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it, in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible. There's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes, as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zach or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabella's. Part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, the friendship they both cherish in their own way. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. Can't speak for Isabella, I rarely ever see her seething. But from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant. The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy. Conversation that turned sour sometime after a late lunch then. Good thing they're already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Because in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily, we both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this let a ghost everything.
You're blaming me again!
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you! If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache.
Ooh, drama.
You know why I had to come here. My dad.
Your dad has nothing to do with this.
So Rebecca does not know that the dad is dead.
It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
I think she doesn't know. I think. Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence, while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they're both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break until the one at its center does so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand, there has always been a certain stubbornness in her, frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what has gotten her through life's hardship. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling on to what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw. The struggle turns useless. Kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit. In fast, rigid steps, away from the hurt and painful words they've let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment and I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in steadying grip. Surprise flits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. Ooh. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about this. Take Rebecca's side, I guess? If I remember correctly, this is the romance part of the thing. I disagree with Rebecca.
You okay?
Oh my god, diamond flowers. Big chunk. If the battle
Okay.
The big chunk. Same. But let's go with Rebecca.
You okay?
Let go, Ashton.
Rebecca has a point, though.
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there. That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe, right?
Not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have after all. But Rebecca also has a point I will always agree with, no matter how desperate I am. It's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we might find in there? If it comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. It'll be an even greater danger. Hence, alone. Exactly as I have told Zach. If there's a need to go back to that cursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes, anything to keep her safe.
Forget it, Belle. You're not going back to that mansion.
But Ash, what about...
This isn't up for debate. Do you really think they'll just let you in? Do you really think they'll give a damn if you walk in there carrying that stupid letter of all things?
No, but there has to be something we can tell them.
Look, I really can't let you do that, Belle.
Ash, the people living in that place now, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are.
I know, but it's risky. It's dangerous. We don't know what you might find in there. Or if you'll even find anything. What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do? For all we know, it might be a dead end. It's not worth it to put yourself in harm's way like that.
Isabella offers no response, not even a form of resistance, no further argument like I've come to expect from her. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin, so the air in the whole room grows heavy. She merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks. Like she only noticed them in that moment. Then, without another word, or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps on the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both of her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. In the quietness of the room, I find myself drifting towards her and taking the empty seat next to her. Shortly, she leans her shoulders to mine, like she used to all those years ago. Back when all that mattered to us were grades and what kind of trouble we'll get into the next weekend. No curse, no letter, no ghosts. Just us and whenever our imagination will take us. I think it should be wherever. Anyway.
How are you holding up?
Barely, but I'll be fine. It's probably just this curse thing getting to me.
That bad, huh?
Excuse me, you're stuck in this nightmare too. And then there's Isabella just being frustrating.
You don't mean that.
She makes a face, having been caught in her lie, before allowing a small smile to replace it.
Yeah, you're right. I don't.
I think we're halfway. Where's the big joy?
She might act like that, but in the end, she's still my best friend. I should probably apologize later.
Your fights never did last long.
They're always so petty these days. I just can't wait for this whole thing to be over. That way we can go back to how everything used to be.
You know that's impossible.
The truth. And we both falter into silence in the face of it. Her mouth opens briefly, and I assume she's about to argue her opinion about it. Maybe say something contrary to it. But eventually, she simply nods, breathes out, relaxes her rigid posture. A rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Seeing it, a smile spreads across my face, knowing and perhaps a little pleased. It's one thing to know, change. Watching it play out in front of me is an entirely different matter. With that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were. Perhaps it's for the better. Becca notices soon enough, like she always did. Whatever she sees in my face startles her, causing her to jerk away.
Why are you staring at me like that?
Nothing. Don't mind me.
I know that look, Ashton Frey. That's definitely not a nothing. You wouldn't be wearing that expression if you didn't have something on your mind.
Really? It's nothing. It's just that when we were kids, you weren't really the kind of person who spoke her mind. Someone else always had to stand up for you. You've changed a lot, Becca.
What did you expect? It's been, what, 17, 18 years?
What I'm trying to say is, I think I like this version of you more.
A beat.
Except when you're mad, and you're yelling, and you're glaring daggers at everyone. You're pretty scary, you know.
Well, don't say that so casually. Also, if you're just going to complain, we might as well just end this talk right now.
See what I mean? Even Z-Man's scared of you. I'd bet my entire salary on it.
What's my arm, the gesture light and familiar, causes us both to burst into peals of laughter afterward. When was the last time she shared something like this? Can't even remember. Nice though. To have another conversation like this, sit side by simply enjoying each other's company. I'm not very fond of looking back to the past. Most of it means having to remember unpleasant things for me. Sometimes, boiled around the there are good ones. And Rebecca's there for the most of it. Things may change, but her friendship is one thing I will hold dear. We may meet new people throughout our lives, but that doesn't mean I will care for her any less. Which makes this whole business with the letter even more urgent. While Rebecca's right, Isabella's reasoning also makes sense. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have after all. With what's at stake, I can't let this curse win, if such a thing even makes sense when dealing with the supernatural. Tonight, by any means, I need to go back to that accursed place. Alone, because who knows what we might find in there. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority. I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. My apprehension must have been quite obvious in my face. In sudden motion, Rebecca reaches out and taps my arm. Although she does it lightly, it startles me. Nevertheless, and it's enough to put a worried look on her. For a moment she studies my face, eyes scrutinizing, searching. But before I can even avert my gaze, keep her from getting a read on me, she straightens, her worry abruptly fading into a look of disapproval.
You have a plan in mind, don't you?
The simple yes or no question, I can easily lie. Yet, her tone completely bellies everything. Belies? Anyway, everything her words mean. I may as well tell her everything. When all is said and done, she's still one of the few people I trust. However, every vein in my body knows she'll be the first one to disagree, put her foot down and stop me. And once she does, who else will be left to fix this? Zach? Isabella? Her? I do understand her concerns, but there are times when they are misplaced. This complication isn't what I need at the moment. But what am I supposed to say? What is she expecting to hear from me? What answer will satisfy her? It certainly appears like she's hoping for more than a yes or no, for an answer I can't give at the moment. What else then? In the dark, offer a vague answer.
I need to head off somewhere tonight.
A vague answer. All I can offer, and hopefully this will be enough. Not an outright lie, but that, though, doesn't make me feel any less awful about this. It's worse when you know she's asking only because she's worried. Part of me wants to tell her, admit that Isabella's suggestion is exactly what I'm planning tonight. What good will it do, though? I've already told Zach, one person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware, at least of where I'm heading off to, in case things don't pan out. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. Rebecca doesn't need to know the kind of danger I might be throwing myself in tonight. She should prioritize herself and her own safety first before others. But it's never that easy with her, isn't it?
Am I allowed to ask questions this time?
No.
You're asking one right now, aren't you?
It's a serious question, Ashton. Yes or no?
No.
You can, but I can't promise I'll answer them.
That's a nice way of saying no. You might as well just tell me to shut up.
You know I don't mean it like that.
Shut up.
Is there something I can do at least?
None. For an instant I hesitate, pausing, fumbling for an answer. It's more difficult with her because all this time she still looks to me as if I'm the same kid from years ago, who she depended on when she has yet to find herself, who she turned to for answers, despite my lack of them. Makes me all the more afraid to fuck up this time. And in case I do, she's the last person I want to be with. Getting her into trouble, getting her killed, is not how I want to repay the friendship she has so generously offered after all these years. My friends are not supposed to be the ones taking the repercussions of my mistakes. Those are of my own doing, of my own responsibility. A fear, a heavy weight on my shoulders they shouldn't be dragged into carrying. However, if there's one thing I can trust her with,
Stay safe.
they
Keep the others safe. Watch over them while I'm out there. Make sure no one does anything stupid. You're good with that kind of stuff.
I'm a high school teacher, Ash, not anyone's babysitter.
The grimace is on her face, but I know she'll do it, even without me asking for it. She cares, more than anyone, more than what her fiery temper expresses. And it eases something in me, knowing the others will have someone like her here. Sure enough, after a stretch of silence, she eventually nods. She does not entirely agree with this, it's in the distant look on her face, but she's willing to trust me on this. For now, that's enough. Either way, it's best that we simply leave things here for now. There's already an understanding, albeit something we both don't agree with. No need to push it further. With a light, reassuring squeeze on her shoulder, I stand up as soon as footsteps shuffle from the next room, its cadence slow and hesitant. Shortly, Isabel comes into view, clutching her hands firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty in her face. She casts me a cursory look, then shifts a nervous one to Rebecca, studies her with a curious gleam in her eyes. Their fights never did last long.
Becca, are you free? Am I interrupting something? If it's okay, can we talk?
Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad for it. Whatever kind of friendship I share with the two, this remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. I'm the outsider, they don't need me here. All the reason I need. Muttering an excuse and flashing Rebecca a quick, knowing smile, he beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave them to mend things on their own. Or Rebecca can say what's on her mind. For the last frustrated glare she directs my way forces me to change my mind. It's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs to conscience, among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. Galway Shaw's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight, with the lively music and chatter, slipping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. Without much trouble, soon enough, I find myself standing outside under the chilly Luxembourg night. The gust of wind picks up shortly after I step out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or two before it starts. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material close to my body while I weave my way through the lines of empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinkles in my pocket with each step I take, though I paid no mind as I hurry towards my car. I've nicked it minutes ago from Isabella's belongings on my way out. This is all connected. I need this damn piece of paper with me. However ridiculous it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be missed, either. But I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. 3 if I'm inclined to go by the rules Z-Man set. But when have I ever? Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. So I hurry, one footstep over the other, echoing, I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. And it does. In the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. Jack? Oh, it's Rebecca. Rebecca turns just as I near, the corners of her mouth twitching up in a wry smile. She offers no greeting except for a slight tilt of her head. Even as my pace slows and I look at her with all the unvoiced questions in my eyes, she remains wordless, merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention up at the starless sky when I come up to stand beside her. Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, wary, thick with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away, while she hugs her arms close to herself to keep warm, which raises the question why she's out here. The air's already heavy with the promise of rain, with clouds obscuring the view. There's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness. Still, she stands there as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall. That or she's here for some other reason. But before I can voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question.
I'm not here to stop you, wherever it is you're planning to go off tonight. I won't be able to anyway. You look like you've already made up your mind.
Go back inside. It's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to be caught in it.
I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here a bit for some air, away from the noise inside. Everything's been so chaotic these days. This little break is nice, even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot, of all places. Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
Right.
It'll be over soon.
The confidence in my own words surprises even me. How do I know? Why am I so sure? When in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, if I don't find anything, we're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light draft sweeping around us.
How I wish. I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes.
I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma.
I can try. But, you know, it also did a lot to us.
Tell me about it. The back of my head's still smarting from my fall last night.
Not that kind. I'm talking about us. As people. I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it also brought out an ugly side to us. To all of us. And it made me realize plenty of things. About myself. About us.
Rebecca trails off. Suddenly a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless of times before. And every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by a memory. A silly story or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Like me, who'll much rather forget, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she smiles, I know this is one of those times again.
Do you remember that one time back in secondary?
Which one? We did a lot of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point.
Mandy.
Mandy?
I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you've kept in contact with her. Are you guys friends now or something?
Oh no. We do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch, but it's nothing like that. We're not friends. Not in this lifetime. I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day. And from then on, things have changed.
It makes it sound like I'm some sort of a hero. Mandy was in the wrong, of course. I'll defend her. If no one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are, it would have escalated and who knows, maybe she would have stopped going to school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I acted because I know what I'm doing is what's right. As simple as that. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that. A fondness that goes beyond nostalgia.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is this time I don't want this to go unsaid. You know, just in case something happens. Ash, I've always been in love with you.
Oy. Go girl. She says it so plainly, holding my gaze and in a voice too frank, that her admission stuns me to silence. Like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one fell swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought, as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues, desperate to express everything she has kept to herself all these years. This is what the fondness is. Why, for her, it weighs heavier than any feelings of nostalgia can carry.
Since that time in secondary, since I made that promise to never leave, I've always truly loved you.
Afterwards, there is relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back to me, though, there's nothing but hope in them, eyes that are searching for an answer. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I find myself grasping, scrambling for the words. Because as flattering as this is, it has simply never occurred to me she'll ever hold affections like this for me. Went down. Even when we've spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together, and not once did it cross my mind. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad that she has stuck with me, even through the toughest moments. Even during the times when she finds me difficult or aggravating, but to think there's more to it. Becca's a beautiful woman, alright? Anyone with a working eye can easily see that. Anyone will appreciate becoming the object of her affections. However, more than that, she's also a close, important friend to me.
Rebecca, I
draw in a breath, ragged, unsure. Uncertain how and which words to put together, afraid they will hurt or ruin this, whatever this friendship has become all of a sudden. Though before I can even string two phrases together, she closes the distance between us, grabs a fistful of my shirt and pulls me down. Cold. Nakakaw na halik. Next thing I know, her mouth is on mine, warm yet unyielding. just like the person who owns them, presses herself against me, almost desperate, longing for that love she has held on to for so long. Even in a gesture as intimate as this, Rebecca's character shows, unintentional or otherwise, fierce, bold, demanding, form of her own. Soon, I find myself being drawn to into her. Well overdue confession. There's nothing gentle about her kiss, far from it. It's urgent. It's frantic. Brimming with every pent-up emotions she has had. Years and years of it. Maybe in another time it will be when death's not looming over us. For the moment, right below a wholly different storm brewing, we both cling to it. Perhaps because it's the only thing tethering us both from losing to this madness. A smile on her face when we part later, kinder than every single one I've seen from her so far. It's nice to see it on her, it suits her more than the glares or the frowns. But at the same time, it only serves to baffle me. And I move to open my mouth to say anything even though I've yet to find the right words, she lifts a hand to my mouth and silences me.
You don't have to answer me.
Yeah, but you should. I should.
No, I mean, not right now.
Okay, now I'm really confused. One moment you're saying you've been in love with me since secondary, now you're telling me to shut up?
If you want to interpret it like that, all right.
No, really. Some explanation would be nice, Becca. Because a lot of things are going on right now, and I'm afraid I can't catch up. Especially with this curveball you just threw.
It means what it means, Ashton. It's not that I don't want to hear it, but you said it yourself. A lot of things are going on right now. Our lives are still in danger. There's still the curse. There's still the ghost. I've waited this long to tell you. I could wait a little more. We'll talk once this is over. Once everything's back to normal again and we don't have to worry about other things.
I'm sorry, Becca.
I'm not even sure what I'm apologizing for. Is that we're stuck in this nightmare? Or because I'm somehow holding myself responsible for having no idea how she felt until she has said it to my face. Regardless, she continues to smile through all of it.
It's not your fault. Don't say that. I'm the one who should apologize. Since I suddenly sprung this up on you when you have other things to do, I just thought I should let you know. Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I won't keep you long. I know you have things to do. Just promise me you'll be careful, all right?
She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she gives me a push, the force only heavy enough to throw me off balance. Caught unawares by the gesture for a few moments, fight for purchase against my car's trunk, bracing my hand on its smooth surface. Look up. With a string of reprimands ready at the tip of my tongue, Rebecca's already halfway through the parking lot. Kiss. Oh, it is. There's a small skip in her steps, while the breeze carries the light tune she's whistling. On a whim, I let its notes be the last thing I commit to memory before slipping inside my car and driving off. Sounds like a new beginning more than anything. Another reason to be optimistic. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxbourne and heading straight for Anslem Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble seconds later, echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. Raining? Yeah, it is. here. Oh. The rain fall in fast, steady sheet creating shallow puddles on dirt path, drenching everything in the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in this city, I still despised the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Luckily me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. The long slog from Anselm village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I've found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair's also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter taser gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, Scumbag, right, has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property. Although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped in the property and the mansion came into view, every light, every light, every light is off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I'll pass it off as some kind of a power outage because of the storm. Not a far off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong,
Something happened here.
or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening, for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will only endanger me. With so many unknown variables and what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impetuously. Much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in prison, not a morgue. There we go. When a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. Coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact, not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguished cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I paid no mind. Only the voice, the woman, and Nothing. Abruptly, it all stops. I'm met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks, and
Help me.
the ghost, man, it's a ghost. Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways. Hold on, hit. Tilting and tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then, it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footballs echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. More than that are the voices, placing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I've failed to do and of who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There's only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, sound both bitter and unforgiving. It's the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Is this QTE? Oh, QTE. Wait. What QTE? We are safe. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open. A soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments, I remain still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skid down prior to landing myself here. Comforting thought. Second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the top side. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul, like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
I think not. Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear's inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this is, this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Nope. Turns out that alone is too much to ask for this early. No, 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls. What? How many days has Marianne been here? Here, 6, 7. What's the party? Oh yeah, so it's 28th, so she's been here 1, 2, 3, 4 days. November 1. She survived 4 days. Rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel, before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless, training my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slowly and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in a form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
It's you, Marianne. Perhaps it's because of what happened earlier and now I've ended up here. Maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak.
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
It's only after I've released safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Yes, girl. Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that or have a conversation like this. Or be stuck anywhere. Well, you wouldn't know. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then, pulls it back. He pulls back, grips the iron bars and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. Not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Same one I met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCullough. Marianne McCullough, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now, with how exhausted and feeble she looks, trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing's shallow and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? You How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in and that woman... Whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
Energy bar. I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts. A little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away, and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone. Although she's going to need more than that if she has said is true. What she has said is true. For the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort. If the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything. Eesh. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks. Though even then, it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, some have survived longer than that. He's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now, to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here. Not like I need it. Like the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to this cell together. So you just leverage. If it's barrel hinges, just leverage, right? Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. We can't have another person trapped in here. However, McCullough ended up inside.
Will this do?
My head snaps back to her. Yeah, it will. McCullough extricates a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort. No kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud. The sound of it puts elation on McCullough's face. Hey, she's free. She doesn't even ask for help. Soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Prison break.
After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up... today. I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something. Someone.
Contemplative expression flickers in her eyes. Something that's close to wistful. Like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. Doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her. Rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
A lot will happen still.
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry. And I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans.
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here. People died in this place. Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
What? You passed it on to 5 people?
Mikala, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer.
And that's the ghost's cube, I guess?
Mikalo!
Oh no. Abruptly she stops, looking back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days from my own friends, even. You know, she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad. Perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. Can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me.
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you'd rather see Luke Wright choke on his own wine glass, but...
Damn right I do. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. He falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me. You tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. You can always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and letter. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
Okay.
That's more than enough.
He nods, albeit weakly. Then, without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. Wooden plank. Occasionally she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk, she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something, the wall. Tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
He merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels were aging. The wine cellar indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare. But after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages. I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now, I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit, especially after she mentions it's only by chance she has been able to open the door last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be, with me feeling this high-strung intense. Not even sure why, I thought it'll be a good idea to enlist McCullough's help. Although she has been quite helpful so far, I can't shake off the horrible feeling something's going to happen to her if she stays with me. Even if I'm her safest bet if she wants to get out of this place alive.
You really believe that, don't you?
Did you say something?
McCullough pauses mid-step, turning to me, confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard.
Don't you think I'll be the first person who will know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time I'm sure. There's really a voice. Well, voices. By the look of protest McCullough shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching the immediate surrounding for the familiar form of the woman. I don't even have to venture too far from where I'm standing. There's an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. Right on the biggest fragments, they speak. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo throughout the small undercroft. Murmurs and laughters, jeering, scoffing, deriding, placing venom into every crevice in my head, haunting me.
You dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own.
You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
My mistake lies in this first instance I've answered. The very second denial slipped from my mouth, their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Quite knowing they are merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hope I've long buried.
Are we?
Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time?
Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder, to know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Does Marianne not hear you?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late. And you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends.
Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Oof.
Can't even bring Rook right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together.
No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are.
You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through me. Every weakness, every insecurity it knows. To hear it said in my friend's voice, even more so. But what I hate above all of it is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it.
It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it.
You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Where are we anyway?
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
In the end, your own incompetence will eventually lead to the deaths of everyone you care about.
It laughs, sharp and piercing, and its sound, something in me snaps. At its sound, something in me snaps. Rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand and something grabs at my wrist, followed by a buzz as another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
The fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once, there is this deafening silence. Slowly, I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, faint, cold scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist, as if to keep me from hurting myself. In my hands, a shard. Blood drips from where it has cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible even. There is pain, however, a different kind. An ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but where every single word has hit. When I glance up at Makolo, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it! No matter what happens, don't do what it says! It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. Breathes a sigh, heavy. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
Ooh. The glass shards? The mirror shards? Yeah. She walks off without another comment, but there's a worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. On the ground, they lie lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults. But even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
Useless, Ashton Frey.
You are going to die.
Not today, Satan.
And you are going to die alone!
A fear. One that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. Hey, we're up here. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It isn't even locked, probably left open for when Wright asks for some midnight snack. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help Makolo up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, tending to his master, or doing some extra late night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants, no anyone. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently I close the hatch. Things go well, same path will be our way out. Our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think that what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we simply revel in the little victory. They're great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly a sob, ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, Apollo immediately tenses. Her eyes goes wide, and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she has the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. Makes sense of the 3 or more days without proper food or water. And it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. Something happens, there's a need to run, won't be able to. A liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
He doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
Makalo still appears as if she's about to argue. So instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. Standard issue for every member of Luxembourg police force. But it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at it as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you. But if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you!
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. Just being realistic with my chances. Apollo seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she nods. Ooh, that's new this time. With a taser. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any.